Okay, hi guys. Welcome to Testimony Tuesday. I've had this idea for or dream, let me say, segment on Indie Pulled It for about a year now. And the idea is that testimonies, talking about the trials, the tribulations, sharing the overcoming of those situations. I'm gonna be doing my makeup. But sharing the overcoming of these situations so that we can, as a collective, hear that people are getting through. And I was thinking about it in the shower and I was just like, oh yeah, the significance of that, like a Tuesday, Mars Day, motivation. I feel like it will help people, motivate them to keep going. It will help them motivate them to keep going. And the idea is that, oh yeah, like obviously you guys will be able to send me testimonies or share them, and they'll be posted. But follow the leader. Like, I have to create that platform. So here I am. I believe recording this is good for me to hear. You have overcome a lot of things. You have, and I feel like I really need to acknowledge that. It's the full moon at midnight tonight in the UK, but I know in America it's gonna be today. But it's funny because I say today y'all probably still sleeping. Time is so funny. What did I want to talk about? What was my testimony? I wanted to talk about, in terms of my testimony for today, for this Mars Motivation Day, is about overcoming mental health issues, is about overcoming trauma. Because I feel like I don't hear enough success stories. Now I know I'm looking crazy right now, but I just put my setting powder over my primer. But yeah, we'll leave it for a couple seconds and we'll get into it. I don't know why I'm so nervous. Like, maybe it's because I'm sharing this, but what is the testimony, Destiny? What is the testimony that we're sharing? The testimony is overcoming a version of self that was created and birthed from, not from self, but from the trauma that I went through in this life. Growing up, I remember I used to see tweets like trauma, childhood trauma permanently damages your brain. I used to see tweets about depression being something that's going to be lifelong. Honestly, I felt like I would never break out. Now, I'm going to do a longer version of this. This is just like a quick acknowledgement, I guess. Quick acknowledgement. But I will do a version of this where I bring out diary entries, poems, thoughts, monologues, where I have literally sat and thought I will never break out of this, where I've had realizations, but again, but that doesn't matter. The fact is, I am now in a position where I'm not held by my past. And I feel like that's a testimony in itself. When you people that relate with stuff like CPTSD, BPD, undiagnosed ADHD, being a SA survivor, having been through physical abuse, narcissistic abuse, all sorts of things. It's just like, these things, we hear always the negative. We hear about what it does. We hear about the struggle. We even hear people saying, oh, I feel better, and then I'm back again. And I feel like I'm at a place where not only can I say I've overcome that side of me, and I've fully, not only can I say that I've come to a point where I've finally let go of a lot of that trauma, and I have found self. I have found peace, happiness, joy within. But I understand the cycles that we go through. I'm no longer afraid when I see trauma symptoms show up again, I have developed the tools to be able to look after myself, to be able to observe, to be able to know what to do when those negative feelings come through. Now, again, I'm talking in circles, but what is the testimony? The testimony is I never thought I would be able to go forward with my life. I had always carried the story of the horrors that had happened to me. I had always known, okay, I'm depressed, I can't do this. We're always aware of why I couldn't do what it is that I dreamed and desired to do. There was always an issue. And there was. These were heavy things. And a lot of the time, it wasn't just a case of the mind. These were things that were literally stopping me. And I remember I used to beg for a break. Like, coming up to uni, I said, after uni, all I want is a break. A retreat. All I want is a retreat. Time to stop and for me to just be me. I used to always want time to stop. All my old songs are about wanting to stop time. Why? Because I felt I needed to just heal, to release. Now, it seems like I always had the knowledge that there was a need to stop and to release in order to unleash all that I know I could be. But whether that was uni, whether that was working, whatever it was, it always felt like I didn't have the space or the room to let that version of me bloom. I felt like I didn't have the space to remove the effect of those wounds, take the time to understand. But that's the beauty of the universe, that's the beauty of life. Now, when I talk about tower moments, I always talk about it with a smile. You may think, why? But it's because of those tower moments, that forced slow down, because the circumstances I was ending up in were pushing me to a point where I could not ignore. Even when I thought I was free, even when I thought I was here. I always used to see tweets when people say, oh, when you first move out of a household, toxic household, abusive household, whatever, that and when you leave survival mode per se, that everything comes to the surface. When that happened for me, everything came to the surface and it's like I went back under. But this time around, I went back under and I did the work. I did the healing. And it was a lot of shadow work. It was a lot of shadow work. It was a lot of having to see self. It was a lot of having to go within. It was a lot of having to understand why. It was also a lot of having to accept. It was a lot of having to surrender and let go. Like I said before, I used to carry the trauma, the things that had happened to me. That was my story. That was all I was. And when in spirituality, I was learning that no, that isn't who you are. I was now fighting within self. This is what people call an ego death, because that was all I saw as me. That was my entire sense of self. That was my entire sense of self, the trauma, the pain. It got to a point where even though I had shifted from the things that had happened, so physically these things were not continuing, it got to a point where I could see that the only thing that was holding me back was me. Yes, there was traumas. Yes, there were things that happened, but in the present moment, I was free, but I could not see, and my mind was just a place of captivity, if you may. So how did I get out? How did I break free? I allowed myself to truly accept me. Shadow work, isn't a joke. Do you know how many parts of us we just refuse to acknowledge, that we refuse to show love? When I learnt how to start doing that, that was a huge stepping stone and pivotal moment for me. When I began to accept the human parts of me, when I learned to start using the tools that were available to me, I began to see that I had the power to break free. Breath work, meditation, my spirituality, there's been so many things that have helped me. And yes, there were things that were hard and still are. But I think the testimony is that I'm no longer like I have experienced feelings of depression, but I am not depressed. I experience fear coming through, but anxiety was once something that I always knew, but anxiety is no longer me. Because that isn't me. That is not me, and I get to choose. I think it's the power and the knowing that we get to choose. When you finally own the fact that you get to choose who you are and who you show up as and get to be, I feel like that's the moment you become free. I used to look at life like I will always be like this. I will always be in a cycle of chasing for bliss, but that's not me. That's not how I live. I'm happy with who I am. And who I am is so detached from what I've been through. I wish I could explain it into words, and I know that I will, but it takes time to articulate this journey. It takes time. And thank goodness now all we have is time. We have so much time. We have so much time. I used to fight against time, feeling that time was running away from me, but I actually took the time to stop and to breathe. But once I took that time to, step back and breathe and release, I felt so much more freedom within. I was able to rearrange my thoughts and my thinking. Meditation really helped because I was able to observe. When people say you are not your thoughts, you don't understand how true that is. It got to a point where I realized, hold on, when I have these negative thoughts, it's like I'm constantly in a state of meditation. I go straight to observation. I go straight to, not even in a intellectualizing way, but I'm able to say, oh, I don't feel okay. And I'm able to give myself exactly what it is that I need because I recognize the journey. I recognize that my soul has lessons that it needs to learn. I recognize there are things that I've been through that I respond to when I'm around certain things. I recognize I have the power to remove myself from energies that do not serve me. I recognize that I'm learning. I'm always learning. And again, like I said, I don't know if I've articulated this well at all. I don't know if I've articulated this well at all. But the message is meant to be that you can be free. You 100% can be free. Whether it is you have CPTSD, you can be free. These things are not supposed to trap you eternally. These things are not, and there's so much knowledge, there's so many things that I will definitely share of how, but joy and happiness can be found and it can be maintained. Again, emotions are triggered responses from things that are happening externally. But when I learned that the external things that I see are a reflection of how I look after me, that changed my entire brain chemistry. Like literally, because the work I did on my inner garden, it literally transformed the world around me. I watched it happen time and time again. The more I spent time within, the more I spent time looking after my inner world, the outer world changed. It changed. And I also saw that when I stopped, that would be reflected too. Now, I'm not saying that it's about your works and you always have to do, because the universe will call you to rest. That is all part of it. And sometimes the test is, will you listen? Or will you push yourself until the universe forces you to be still? There's so much that I want to say. There's so much that I want to say, and I don't know if this testimony is relaying what I'm trying to, that you don't have to prove yourself to anyone. I want my powder. Hold on. It's here. But yeah. So there's a way out of all of those negative feelings. There's a way out. There's a way out. There is a way out. There is a way out. No matter what it is you've been through, as dark as it may seem. And I feel like one video is not enough to summarize my journey. One video is not enough to take you step by step. Again, everybody's journey is different. But that's why I do what I want to do. Or that's why I've chosen to do what it is that I do, because I can sit down with you. I can sit down and help you look through these thoughts, these feelings, and to find the way out. The way out is through, and the answers are within you. Believing in self, finding God within. These are all things that have saved me from a narrative that I once had. My narrative is all about the narrative, the story you tell. When you realize that you are the creator and that you can change, it is your pen. What do you choose to say? What do you choose to say when you are looking around at the things that are wrong and looking within and seeing, where in my narrative does this fit in? When you can locate that you have believed certain things and these things are just confirming what is within, you're able to change. And things outside don't change straight away. That's why we have to continue, and remain connected to our heart, to center, to source. The more you let that energy through, the more you force the surroundings around you to change. They must reflect what it is. They must. And they do. They always do. They always do. It always does. You will never, ever, ever, ever be stuck unless you want to be. And a lot of the time we don't realize how much we choose to be stuck. And I wrote a song called Time Will Never Wait back in 2020. And I didn't realize in that song how much I had paused time to try and understand what was going on in my mind. And there is freedom in love. There is freedom in loving yourself. I used to hate when people say, it's your responsibility. Go for a walk. It will help. I used to scroll past viciously. But in the past couple of years, I found that those are the things that have really helped me. Why is that? Because we return back to what is natural, to nature. I feel like I've just been cheesing. It's been 25 minutes of me yapping. And I know when I edit this, I'll have some gems to share. And hopefully you can see the joy that's there. Hopefully you can see that it's in you too. Hopefully you can see the way through. And even if you can't, know that there's people like me that are willing to help you. You may say, I feel alone. Sometimes you need to come back home and stay away from different energies. Sometimes that's what you need. Now, I don't say isolate and make yourself sick, but you will feel it if you need to withdraw. And withdrawing doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. Sometimes that's what you need to pull yourself through. I'm going to end this testimony and say that I am more than okay. I am more than okay at this point in my life. And even when I find myself feeling down, it's not the end. It's not the end. Even when I find myself feeling down, even when my circumstances around haven't changed, I am still okay. I don't know how to explain or how to describe, but I feel like it would be unfair for me to wait until everything is perfect before I start to articulate. So, yeah, my testimony is that there is life after grief. There is life after trauma. You are not stuck and bound by the things that have happened to you. No matter how many TikToks that come to you and say that you are going to permanently be this way, that is a lie and a narrative that you can refuse. You can constantly make new pathways in your brain if you choose. You have the power to heal yourself from within. So follow me if you want to learn how to tap in. Anyway, this was a little Testimony Tuesday confirmation beep. There'll be more of these. And I will find clearer ways to share my story, because I know this was quite cryptic and poetic. But hopefully you get the message and it has been delivered. I'm your host, Destiny. Have a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday, an amazing day ahead. It's a full moon as well, so make sure you release. Make sure you breathe. And if you want, leave a comment down for me, any questions or how you felt watching this. I'll be here. Sending you a kiss.